Hi, I'm Erik Linask here in the TMC newsroom. We are here on the third day of our first IT Expo event in Austin, Texas. A great couple of days so far. Certainly looking forward to the final day here today. It's my pleasure to have on our program today Louis Summe. He's the CEO at LiveVox. Louis, good morning. Thank you for joining me.
Morning, Eric.
I guess it doesn't come as a surprise to either one of us. A big topic here at IT Expo or at shows in general these days is cloud computing, cloud communications, what have you. Virtualization in cloud, whatever flavor you want to talk about. What does that mean for the contact center space?
I think that's a great question because the contact centers are different than most parts of the enterprise in that they are dealing with not only the data part, but they also have a voice component and often a text or a chat component on top of it. So the contact center environment involves data, voice, text, chat. So when you think about cloud and virtualization for the contact center environment, it's more than it is in other sectors.
So one of the big questions always as you move sort of upstream to the largest contact center environments, does cloud provide the capability to scale up as high as people need to?
Well, I think that when you look at contact centers' ability to scale, what you find is that it's very difficult to get beyond a couple of sites, and the complexity of your environment grows substantially. Most contact centers on the higher end are running a multi-site, multi-source environment, and what that means is that they have agents that are overseas, they have agents that are domestic, they have agents that are nearshore, and given all those different sites, that gives them a very heterogeneous environment. So there's a lot of different equipment in different places. So trying to bring all of that together into a coherent service delivery model, that's really what a lot of the contact centers are very focused on doing. And so the cloud is really a tremendous asset to be able to do that because it gives them a mechanism to abstract a lot of the complexity and put it up into a new layer, and that layer really gives them a path towards centralization and towards consolidated control that they really haven't had before. So cloud is a big opportunity to help out the larger contact centers.
Good. Excellent. Something that I've been hearing a little more about too, cloud-based switching. What does that mean and what benefits can that provide in the contact center in terms of networking and routing?
It's a great question, and when you know, as we have this conversation, you'll hear some themes repeat, and one of the themes that repeats is contact centers have a lot of complexity, and they really want to be more responsive and more flexible, and it's really that complexity that has held them back. And as I said earlier, their complexity stems from the fact that they handle data and voice and chat across many different sites. And so as you think about how to move it forward and how to become more flexible, the critical piece of that is how do you make it simpler? And one of the complexities that you face when you try to bring together all of these different requirements is what's your network topology? So how many layers are in your network? And the more layers you have in your network, the more complex it is and the less flexible it is. So what the cloud-based switching model does is really compresses the layers and moves the network from a multi-layer network into a flat network. And what that does is that gives you the ability to really cleanly promote agent presence into the network layer. And having agent presence into the network layer is a big step towards realizing a cloud or a virtualized environment. And it's a big step towards getting seamless operation across a lot of different sites and a lot of different sources and a lot of different equipment.
Got it. I think two of the biggest concerns, if you will, that enterprises have had with the cloud, with cloud services, is moving to the cloud, security and reliability. I think we're seeing a little bit of progress in that, but what's LiveVox doing to address those concerns?
Well, I think that the original way that IT looked at the cloud-based solutions was with those questions, where, how reliable is it, and how secure is it, and what I think has evolved as people have looked at cloud and solution providers like LiveVox is that if you architect your cloud solution, you can, if you architect it properly, you can actually get a higher level of redundancy than you can in a premise-based solution. And in fact, the dominant way that equipment has been provisioned in the past, it is not redundant. Because if you wanted a redundant piece of equipment, then you had to buy two of them.
Right.
So you had to have actually equipment sitting idle to get redundancy. And that just isn't something that contact centers have invested, not in a general way. And so when you look at the cloud solutions like LiveVox, which are actually multi-tenant solutions, the multi-tenant solutions have pools and layers, and with pools and layers in your architecture, redundancy is built in. It's a big part of how you provide that solution from a multi-tenant infrastructure. You can't scale without building in these pools, and then these pools build in that level of redundancy. And so the redundancy drives the reliability. And with the class of data center that you get from a bigger service like LiveVox, you're really taking a step up on security, you're taking a step up on redundancy, you're taking a step up on reliability. And so it's really an opportunity for contact centers to advance on that front.
So as contact centers, both larger and smaller, are considering moving to the cloud, moving to a cloud-based model, what are some of the things that they need to consider? What's a question or two that they really should be asking their potential partners in that move?
Well, I think that one of the key questions that a client should ask a vendor is, about reliability and about redundancy. How are you architected? Because if a solutions provider comes in with a single tenant solution in the cloud, that really, from an architectural perspective, is not different than if you bought the equipment yourself and put it into your data center. Right. So that isn't really so much a change in architecture as really kind of just outsourcing the equipment. And when you look at that model, it's not really taking away the problems that you face today. So if you're looking for cloud and for virtualization to offer you a new, a better, a more flexible infrastructure, it's got to have a different architecture than what you have today. Don't expect things to get better if you do the same. And so I think that that's really a key distinction, is people can't, need to look carefully about whether it is a multi-tenant architecture or whether it is single tenant. And if it's single tenant, how are they going to provide the redundancy, and how are they going to provide the scalability that gives you the opportunity to take all of your different contact centers in different places and put them together in a consolidated layer.
Excellent. Louis, thank you so much for joining me, and have a great rest of the show.
Great. Thanks, Eric.